Hello and welcome to Network with Louis. In today's video, we'll be looking at SSL VPN and we'll be discussing why and reasons for configuring SSL VPN. So in my previous video, I discussed other forms of VPN such as the IPsec VPN, the site-to-site VPN, and I think we also configured Jari tunnel. But in today's video, our focus will be on the SSL VPN via the WebVPN. All right. So in today's topology, we have two sites. We have the office network and we have the external site network. And the office network, we have the devices in VLAN 2 and an IP subnet of 192.168.2.0. Then for the external network, we have the VLAN 1 and an IP subnet of 192.168.1.0. So basically, the SSL VPN is a type of VPN that allows us to remotely access resources or our company's network via web browser of our host machine without necessarily having the VPN client installed on our machine. All right, so we can just from our web browser log into the web resources located out of our network and access them as if we were seated presently with such devices or such resources. All right, so it is also good to know that this is best suited for remote employees like myself who work from home, and it simplifies the remote process, which ensures that secure and encrypted communication exists between the endpoints like my PC and the server, wherever it is. Okay, so without further ado, let's quickly dive into the configuration. So let me take you or run you down through the steps involved. By my right, I have the outline steps that we need to complete this lab, and there are 5. And the first of those steps says we must assign IP address accordingly, and we must test connectivity via ping to ensure that our IP addressing is appropriately done. So the first step in this lab will be to configure IP addressing. So I'm going to configure IP addressing on this end devices, and you see I have static IP addressing already on this end devices. Similarly, I also have IP addresses. And you would also notice that the IP addresses are from the office subnet. So you see, from the office subnet, right? So I already have that taken care of. Now for the external network, the IP address must be from this external network's subnet. So I'm gonna obtain an IP address here on these end devices, and you see we've also obtained IP addresses dynamically, all of them. I also check this too. So you see on both ends, both the office and the external side, I have my IP addresses configured. Then I need to verify that they are connected and that I can ping successfully. So if I do IP config, for example, on this PC, and I try to ping 192.168.2.4, and you see I can ping successfully, right? If I try to ping my gateway, you can see I can also ping my gateway successfully. So let me also test this other side, which is the external subnet, or external network rather. If I try to view my IP address of the server, then I do ping 192.168.1.1. See, I can also ping. So that goes to say that the step 1 in this whole process is done. So configure step 1. Now, one thing I want to also make clear, so as for the efficacy of this whole topology to be seen, is that I am currently connected to 2 different networks, right? On my left-hand side, my office PC are connected to the office network, while on the right-hand side, my servers are connected to the server network. This goes to say that the devices from the office cannot reach the servers as we speak. For example, this device IP is, I go IP config. This guy's IP is 192.168.2.6. For example, if I want to ping the app server whose IP is ping 192.168.1.6, we see that that ping would fail. Why? Because they belong to two different VLANs, two different IP/subnets, and also routing is not configured anywhere. So you see, I can't even access the server. That's to tell you there's no connectivity between the office and the external site. No, similarly, this is a case where you, as the remote worker or the remote employee, from the comfort of your home, you are connected to probably your home internet, and you want to access a resource that is hosted somewhere within your office network, right? So if I try to ping this other server, which is the DB server, ping 192.168.1.7, you see, I cannot also reach it because it is on a different network. These servers are hosted elsewhere, far away, not in the same location as my cell phone or my PC. So I might be a remote employee of a company, maybe somewhere in the US, and I'm trying to access a resource hosted somewhere in China. Obviously, if you know your networking basics very well, you would understand that you belong to two different networks, so you cannot access that resource, except there is either a VPN tunnel for you to do so, and which is the reason why we are going to configure VPN, so that these devices would be able to access the resources from their remote locations at any given point in time. All right. So now that I've established this, let me proceed with the second step. The second step is to configure the bookmark site, right? So the bookmark site is where we specify the IP addresses and the URL logins. So to do that, I will go to the ASA, and under the ASA, I'll go into the config tab, and under the config tab, I'll click on the bookmark manager. Now, to create this, I'm going to name it after each of the servers. So the first will be app server, and I'm going to give it a URL of HTTPS. Emphasis on the S, because it must be secure. Colon /, then I'm going to assign the IP address of the app server, which is 192.168.1.5. So you have 192.168.1.5. I'm going to click add. Similarly, I'm going to repeat the same steps for the DB server and for the ERP server respectively. So DB server, URL HTTPS colon / 192.168.1.6, I believe. Yes. I'm going to add. And finally, the ERP server, HTTPS colon / 192.168.1.7, and I'm going to add. Now, we've completed the step 3 of this topology. So we've completed step 1, step 2. Now the next will be to configure step 3. Step 3, we are to create users and assign them to the user manager. So just like we know in our previous videos how to create users using the CLI. So similarly, we're just going to do the same thing. Config terminal. To create a user, I'm going to do username. I'm going to specify the name. Say, for example, Adam. And I'm going to specify the password to be Adam123. Then I'm also going to create another username. I'm going to create Jacob. I'm going to specify the password to be Jacob, but it's a Jaco1234. And a third username, say Isaac. Go to the password, also Isaac. Oh, okay, let me use Q as Isaac 0101, right? Now, these are my login credentials. I've created 3 users and I need to add them to the, let me copy this for sake of reference. I need to copy that so I can have them somewhere. So I save this. Now, I need to add them to the user manager. So back to my Cisco ASA. Now, to add them to my user manager, I will head back to the config tabs. Under the config tab, go to user manager. Now, I'm going to specify each of the users. So for example, Adam, I'm going to bookmark Adam. I want Adam to be able to access the app server at any given time. So I'm going to select the app server here. Then for the profiling, I'm going to create I'm going to specify VPN profile name. Yeah, so I'm going to name it VPN profile 1. And for the group policy, I'm also going to give it VPN policy 1. I'm going to set. So you see, the moment I hit that, from the GUI interface, you see the configurations, the CLI configurations to carry out that task. So if I wanted to do this using my CLI, these are the commands I must key in to be able to achieve that. All right. So this also goes to, tell you or show how easy it is to use the GUI, because it's just, click, and everything is done. So I'm also need to do the same for these other 2 users, Isaac and Jacob respectively. So I'm also gonna create or add Isaac to the user manager. So Isaac, and I want Isaac to be able to always access the DB server. I'm also going to create a profile name for Isaac, VPN profile 2. And for the group policy, I'm also going to specify policy 2 set. And lastly, for Jacob, bookmark, and what's Jacob to be able to always access the RP server. And for the profile name, VPN profile 3. And for the group policy 3 set. All right, so right now I've added my users to my user manager, so they are all in my Cisco ASA Firewall. So these users are the users who have been given the permission to be able to be authenticated and granted access to my resources at the end of my firewall, right? So at this point, we have completed the step 3. Now we would also do the step 4. So to do the step 4, we are to enable VPN on the app side interface. So if I go back to my CLI and I do config terminal, to go to the global configuration mode, I do WebVPN, enter, then I do enable outside. And you see the notification it gave me. It said WebVPN and DTLS are enabled on the app side. So I'm going to save this configuration. You're right. We're also going to exit, and I want to save it properly. All right. Now we've completed the fourth step. So now the fifth and final step would be to verify our SSL configuration. Now to do that, I need to first ensure that on my servers, HTTPS is enabled. So I'll click on the server, then I go to service and navigate to HTTP and ensure that HTTPS is enabled. You know, with all I've done so far, you would notice that I am not still able to ping the devices. I want you to take note of, if you're watching this video, understand that I have not configured any form of routing. As such, I should not be able to ping from the office network to the external site. So, for example, config, you see this IP is 192.168.2.1. So if I try to ping 192.168.1.5, for example, I am unable to ping it because that is the app server's IP and it belongs to a different subnet, a different network, a different VLAN. All right. Yet, with the help of my WebVPN configuration, which I have just done on the ASA, I would be able to access the resources hosted on this web. So let's try that and see. Now, from my PC3, you already know I'm unable to access it. Let me try to access my gateway from my web URL, and you would see HTTPS. I'm going to do 192.168.2.1, and I click go. And you see, the moment I hit go, it prompted me for an authorization. I need to input my username and my password to be able to log in. So my username is, my username is Adam. My password is Adam 123. If I hit OK, and you see, I'm in. It took me right in, regardless that I have no direct connection to it because I can't ping it. And if I click my app server, you would see, it said, oh, network with Louis, application server. You see? And if you click the images, to show you the images, if I click back and click this image, not found. All right? So now, I have authenticated into the ASA, and from that authentication, I'm able to access the resources on the servers. Similarly, from PC1, I can do the same thing. If I try to ping 192.168.1.6, for example, I'm unable to ping it. But if I try to access from my web browser the Cisco ASA Firewall, I would be able to get through to that device, to the particular server which I want to access, because this access the Debian server 192.168.2.1, and you see it prompted me for a password again. This time I want to use Isaac. So Isaac has my login, and Isaac 0101. Okay, and see, I'm in. If I click this, see, network with Louis database service. So you see, basically this is how users are able to authenticate from the comfort of their homes into a corporate network and access the resources within the corporate network as if they are currently seated at the office. So guys, this is basically how to configure the SSL VPN via the WebVPN, and I hope this video explains a lot about this VPN. This video, I did this video because of some of my students. It was based on requests. They wanted to understand the technologies behind remote VPNs and how it works, and I had to do this to help them understand the technologies. So if you're one of my students, both online and physical, please, I urge you to watch this video, to like, subscribe, and for other of my subscribers and well-wishers, please, I also wish you will share this link with all of your friends and help me subscribe and like, and comment. If you have any questions or anything at all you would want us to discuss or want clarity on, you can leave a message on my comment section, or you could always just link through my social media handles, and I will be so glad to help you. Okay, thank you guys, and bye for now.